not just a low price, but low quality as well. In 1820s America, a Cheap John or Cheap Jack was a man who peddled flimsy pots, ill-fitting suits, and inferior merchandise of all types, asking unreasonably high prices to begin with, and gradually letting his customers haggle him down. And in 1880, a story in Harper's Magazine mentioned a character named Isaacson, a traveling Cheap John who had opened a stock of second-hand garments for ladies and gentlemen in a disused fish house on the wharf. It was a contemptible profession, and through that usage, the word cheap entered our vocabulary as a term of derision, an adjective synonymous with miserly or stingy. Every culture, it seems, sustains a deep discomfort with the figure of the miser. A Native American legend tells of a hunter who refused to bring his kills back to share with his hungry tribe. He was punished by the gods. Jamie and Edmund Tyrone, the two sons in Eugene O'Neill's play Long Day's Journey into Night, blame their father's penny pinching for their mother's drug addiction and the other woes they've endured. And Mr. Burns, from The Simpsons, lives by himself in his vast mansion, hatching schemes to multiply his fortune. He's a tragicomic figure of bewildered loneliness and pecuniary preoccupations, a modern version of Dickens' Scrooge. The miser of legend offends the approved values of our religious and social traditions by favoring the base satisfaction of his piles of money over the rewards of spiritual wealth. He chooses his own personal comforts over selfless love and charity. But even as we scorn the miser, we admire the kindred qualities of saving and prudence. Miserliness has always been the dishonorable cousin of thriftiness, the habit of playing it close with money. So when writers, ministers, and wealthy elites in the 19th century admonished the poor and middle classes to be thrifty, they nearly always included a complimentary warning against miserliness. But where is the line between hoarding and prudence? That's never been clear. Instead, we're told, save your money, but don't hoard it. Be thrifty and prudent, but generous as well. There is a narrow and nebulous band of acceptable behavior. Spend too much, relative to one's circumstances or perhaps to one's peers, and be labeled irresponsible. Spend too little and be labeled parsimonious and stinting. As cheap as he is, my father is also one of the most generous people I know. All my life he has given time and money to causes he cares about, from homelessness and hunger to AIDS and political campaigns. He rarely passes a panhandler on the street without giving him the coins in his pocket. He's scrupulously honest. If a restaurant undercharges him, he points out the error and pays the higher check. After my grandmother's savings ran out, he and my mother began bankrolling all of her expenses at the assisted living facility where she resides, rather than see her move into a Medicaid-funded home. When it came time for my sister and brother and me to attend college, we were never told to limit our sights to a state school or other lower-cost option. Instead, our parents sent us to some of the best and priciest schools in the country. Neither our father nor our mother ever complained about the high tuition. That was not only generosity in the extreme, but also a sign of my parents' priorities. The house may be freezing, and my father may still wear the maroon polyester blazer that he's owned for 30 years, but he and my mother provided 3 kids with priceless educations, and they continue to set an example of decency, generosity, and open-hearted engagement with the world around them. So is my father cheap or thrifty when he turns off lights, or when he refuses to use the car for what he calls dippy-shit trips, like a quick run to the grocery store for a single forgotten item? Is he cheap or thrifty when he notes which station sells gas for a penny or two less than the competition? He always seems to be branded with the former adjective, even by relatives and friends who don't have 2 nickels to rub together and who could learn a thing or two from my father about low-cost living. Money stirs up fierce and deeply uncomfortable emotions. Emotions like resentment, envy, guilt, self-righteousness, anxiety. It is a source of conflict. We war with ourselves and with others about it, and we feel a peculiar pleasure in judging what other people do with their money, how they spend it, how they save it, how and what they consume. Since the earliest civilizations, philosophers and friends, prophets and lovers have carped and quibbled about other people's excesses or austerities.